The tensions were certainly high for Syracuse men's basketball, who came into this evening's affair against Notre Dame riding a 4-game losing skid. And Syracuse was trying to avoid a 5-game losing skid, something that hasn't happened in the program in the last since 1968. Syracuse got it done against Notre Dame, a team that has been suffering in ACC play, one of the worst teams in the conference, and the Orange came out on top in front of the home crowd. Without further ado, with my beautiful analysts, Dan Shalam and Drew Albaugh, myself, Gino Antimarino, welcome into Orange Press Pass, and it starts right now. Welcome into our CitrusTV studios with Drew Albaugh, Dan Shalam. I'm Gino Antimarino. Syracuse with an 86-72 victory over Notre Dame, and a game where Donnie Freeman did not start for just the second time this season, but Syracuse nonetheless got the job done. Guys, I'm not going to waste any more time. What did you think of today's game?
I thought it was a great performance by Syracuse, and Drew, it left me wondering, where has this team been? We've seen them struggling in ACC play. 4 straight losses for the first time under Adrian Autry, and it just seemed like something changed tonight in the Dome. We'll get to Donnie Freeman later on, but what a performance from J.J. Starling against his former team, 7 for 7 in the first half, and then in the second half, Nate Kings picks up the slack and ends up with a season-high 28. It was just a beautiful performance for Syracuse offensively. Seemed like they were playing free and locked it down defensively as well.
My first takeaway is that this talent simply took over for Syracuse. This is the more talented team, and I know it's a oh duh moment, but it's true. The more talented team is going to win 95% of the time. We all love the phrase, hard work beats talent. When talent doesn't work hard, it's hung up in every high school locker room across America. But at the end of the day, that phrase is because usually the talent wins. And today, the talent won for Syracuse. Notre Dame does not have a player that played over 20 minutes, over 6'8", Syracuse with 2 of them. Donnie Freeman on the bench. Adrian Autry can do that because of the talent.
He talks about the talent, Drew, but Donnie Freeman didn't have that much of a factor in today's game. He started on the bench, and head coach Adrian Autry talked about in the postgame presser just about how Freeman was feeling coming off the bench in this one.
No, he was ready to go. He was ready. He's good. He's trying to win. He wants to win. That's the great thing about it. Had a great attitude. I think, again, having him come off the bench, and for today, that was a big boost for us as well.
Doing anything to win, right, Coach? And that's exactly why it went into having Freeman come off the bench. He said it was a matchup thing. So without further ado, let's see how those matchups played out inside the JMA Wireless Dome. The Orange going up against Notre Dame. Look at Otto the Orange. He's fired up. A team in Notre Dame that is one of the worst teams in the ACC, and right off the bat, it was a back-and-forth game, tie ball game, but this is when it really started to shift in favor of Syracuse. That started an 11-0 run for the Orange. Nate Kings, season-high 28 points, 5 for 10 from 3. But, Dan, it was the J.J. Starling show in that first half.
And J.J. Starling got that pass from Nate George. He has 10 assists in this game. That's what allowed Syracuse to be so stellar offensively.
George, his 3rd double-digit assist performance in today's game of the season. But that was Jalen Harrelson. He had a great game as well, 26 points for him. But, oh yeah, William Kyle says, anything you can do, I can do better. Syracuse goes into halftime up by 9. And it seemed like, Drew, every time in this game where Syracuse would get the momentum, Notre Dame would come back a little bit there. You can see a little bit of juice coming back on the side of the Fighting Irish, but the Orange would take it right back.
And there's Kings yet again. What a second half for Kings. He finishes with a team-high 28 points.
Yeah, and you talk about, look at that energy, and Adrian Autry hit on it in the postgame show. Oh, my goodness! Robert Harris, the strength and conditioning coach. You'd think with the lower center of gravity he'd be okay, but get knocked over by Nate Kings, and that's that level 5 energy that Adrian Autry talked about. But Notre Dame would not go away. Serta knocked down a 3 to cut the deficit to just 6 with about 7 minutes left in the game. But it was the steals, and Dan, it was the ball movement. 21 assists in this game for Syracuse, the team coming into today, averaging just 13.
Sadiq White finishes that one as well. He might have not had the most points on the score sheet, but he definitely made a difference effort-wise.
Kings with the strip and the slam. And you can see right there why Syracuse came out on this one. Just the energy, the enthusiasm. J.J. Starling did exit the game there at the end. Adrian Autry said there's no update, but something to keep an eye on. Syracuse takes it 86-72 over the Fighting Irish. Those are some of the key contributions in this one. We talked about it, King, Starling, both combining for just under 50 points in this one. So, I mean, you got to love it. J.J. Starling as well with a season-high 5 assists. The ball was certainly moving out there.
Oh, my goodness. 17 points for J.J. Starling in the first half. Didn't have a great second half, but his buddy Nate King said, I'll take the reins from here, finishes with 28.
It was kind of like, okay, it was JJ's first, King's
Right.
second. He had 22 in that second half. JJ had 17 in the first. So whatever way it works, whatever way to get it done, and Syracuse found it today.
Absolutely. Drew, you talked about playing buddy-buddy with Kings and Starling out there. Well, we welcome in a buddy of the program, and Rahill Jaiswall, our Citrus TV reporter who was at the game. And Rahill, you're looking great as always. Someone who wasn't looking great is Donnie Freeman. Now, this was his second game coming off the bench in this season. Adrian Autry said it was a matchup issue is why he came off the bench. What did you see out of his energy level? What was he like on the bench and then coming onto the court? Was he effective, and how did you kind of see him change from prior games into this one?
Well, Gino, I appreciate the comment. I can always count on you for to make me feel a little better. But to be completely honest, I thought Donnie Freeman's body language was very good. I mean, he was very energetic off the bench. And when he came into the game, he didn't do a lot on the stat sheet, but his body language was the same that it would be when, he normally starts a game, right? And I thought he did a great job of being mature tonight. You heard what Autry said in the press conference. There was no pushback from Freeman. He was ready to go off the bench. And, yeah, he didn't have the best impact when it came to the stat sheet, but I thought he did a great job of staying in the flow of the offense. He didn't say, I want the ball, force the ball to me. He let everyone else eat. He stayed in the flow of the offense, and they looked great tonight. So I would say a real mature game from Donnie Freeman, considering this guy is probably going to be an NBA draft pick for him to swallow his pride. So I definitely say a good mature performance from Freeman tonight.
Rahill, you talk about Donnie being disciplined. Two guys that were just lighting it up all night were Nate Kings and J.J. Starling. What made those two so effective tonight, and what did Autry have to say about them?
Well, Dan, to start the game, J.J. Starling did what he should have done, and that's be aggressive. J.J. Starling, when he is getting downhill and slashing the basket, is one of the hardest things to deal with if you're a defense, and he did that tonight. Autry said that he wanted JJ to set the tone early, and that's exactly what he did, especially with no Donnie in the starting 5. And Nate Kings, I mean, what else can you say about it? 28 points, 22 in the second half. Earlier in the season, someone, after the Boston College game, Autry was asked about Nate Kings, and he said, I don't worry about him. He's such a veteran. He figures it out. He had 28 points tonight, but the main reason he scored 28 was the ball movement. You guys have already touched on it. 21 assists tonight for Syracuse and only 6 turnovers, right? The ball movement allowed him to get good looks. After the game, Sadiq White said, we turned down good looks for great looks, and that's something that we have to continue to do this season. Even the Notre Dame head coach, Micah Shrewsbury, said that whenever there was a slight breakdown in our defense, Syracuse took advantage, Kings got loose, and he was great tonight. So really all goes back to the ball movement when it comes to Nate Kings.
Rahill, a changeover crew working really hard behind you, getting ready for the big lacrosse game tomorrow for Syracuse. But sticking on the court, how big were the fans today for Syracuse? Adrian Autry mentioned in his presser about how great the atmosphere was.
Yeah, Drew, the Dome was rocking at times today, and I was really pleasantly surprised with the energy, especially coming off a 4-game losing streak. Autry touched on it. I thought, when Kings got hot and Sadiq White had the tough finish and transition, that's where you felt the Dome really rocking. The fans were great tonight. They gave him great energy. Full credit to them for showing out despite a 4-game losing streak. There was a good amount of students here as well, so that's great to see. Nice crowd for a Saturday game, and overall, really good one for Syracuse, especially considering everything that's happened the last couple of weeks.
It certainly was a refreshing win for Syracuse, to say the least. Thanks so much, Rahill. Hope you get back here safely. I know it's really cold out there. I think it's like 2 degrees. But anyways, it's getting hot in here inside the Citrus TV studios. When we come back here on Orange Press Pass, we pick apart the specifics about this game, and also I've got my player of the game to give out. Stick with us here on Citrus TV. Welcome back here on Orange Press Pass. Drew Albaugh, Dan Shalam, I'm Gino, Antimarino. Now, Syracuse took down one of the worst teams in the ACC in Notre Dame a little bit ago, but around the NCAA, there were some games that you could say were upsets, to say the least. And boy, are there a lot of them. Dan, a few games in there that a little surprising.
I go to Kentucky, Arkansas first. John Calipari's former team goes in and defeats the Razorbacks. A bunch of those Kentucky players said, hey, this one was personal. And they went in there and stuck it to the Razorbacks.
You know, obviously, you take the obvious answer, Dan, but I'm going to go with BYU Kansas, which might be just as obvious. This is a Kansas team that was up by 21 over BYU, finishes with an 8-point win. And then, of course, UCF taking down number 11
Can't
Texas
forget about
Tech.
that one.
How about that? An 8-point win. All of a sudden, the Red Raiders on the down.
That's the beauty of college basketball, right? You get those upsets on a day-to-day basis. Let's take a look on the ACC side of things. And that's pretty much right where we expect, aside from the rest of college basketball. But pretty much all the teams that were supposed to get the win got the win, except for that Cal-Miami game. That's a Hurricane squad that is supposed to be pretty good.
It's 2 out of the last 5 now for Miami have only been wins. So concerning for them in ACC play, they're kind of trending downwards.
And Syracuse is about to take on Cal in a few games here. And Cal beat UNC a few weeks ago, now takes down Miami.
Yeah, and that North Carolina game also a victory, and that's Syracuse, who they're going to play next up here on Monday. All right, let's focus back on that Syracuse-Notre Dame game. A victory for the Orange, one that stopped a 4-game losing skid for Adrian Autry and crew. Now, one of the critiques or criticisms about Adrian Autry and his team is you can't play a full game. The first half has always been great. Second half has always been slow, and that's resulted in a lot of losses for Syracuse. But Dan, in today's game, Syracuse was the better team in both the first and second half.
They finally played a full 40. I've been waiting for it to happen, and they finally did it. You go to that NC State game where they just gave up in that second half, and then you go to VT, Miami, BC, all of those games. They were up at halftime, and then they fell apart in the second half. It was just nice to see them finally get across the finish line, and I think it was the fact that they weren't just relying on a guy like Donnie Freeman to take them all the way in this game. They had J.J. Starling go off for 17 in the first half, but then Nate Kings backed him up with 22. They finally had another player get into double figures in the second half and be able to push this team across the finish line for a win.
Now, I'm not a mathematician, Dan, but I got a formula that usually ends in a win.
Oh.
SU shot over 50% from the field in both halves. Syracuse won the rebounding battle in both halves. And Cuse turned the ball over fewer times in both halves. You're going to win about 95% of your games if you do that. Syracuse got it done in the first 20, got it done in the latter 20. And you see there pretty much everything right around even. 3-point percentage, I will say, in the first half, things were flying and falling for Syracuse. But it doesn't really matter when Nate King steps up and did what he did.
That's what it should look like, too. And the reason that it's been so disproportionate the last few games has really been troubling.
Sure.
All right, well, someone who didn't have a great first or second half, in my opinion, is Donnie Freeman, who started today on the bench, came into the game, didn't even start the second half as well. He finished the day with 7 points and 1 for 4 from the field. But Drew, I'll start with you because I know when we were watching the game, you were fired up and saying that Donnie Freeman did have a good game.
Yeah.
But what does this kind of mean for Syracuse moving forward, and how did you think Donnie Freeman played today?
Gino, I disagree with you. I think Donnie played fine today. Finished with a plus-minus of positive 13. That's the second best on the team. Played just over 20 minutes, finished with 6 rebounds. Also the second best on the team. What do you want Donnie Freeman to do in just 22 minutes on the court? Because he got 7 points, got to the line 9 times. You could have had more if you made 4 more free throws, Donnie Freeman. It's your first game without double digits this entire season, but I don't blame Donnie Freeman. I understand the ideology behind it. You pull Donnie Freeman, you give a little bit of spark to a younger Sadiq White who has maybe something more to prove. Donnie Freeman, you could argue, maybe checked out to the NBA. Right. But at this point in the season, if you want to rally off 5-6 wins in a row, take down UNC, take down Duke, Donnie Freeman needs to be in the starting lineup.
It just doesn't really make sense to me at this point for Syracuse, because when you've had Donnie Freeman in the lineup over that 4-game losing streak, he was in double figures every game. He played above 25 minutes in all of those games. But tonight, Gino, you mentioned the numbers, 1 for 4, 0 for 2 from beyond the arc. And then you go to those Vegas games where he was also on the bench, and Syracuse is winning those games. So it's just weird to me that Syracuse finally breaks this 4-game losing streak here once Donnie Freeman is actually on the bench, plays his least amount of minutes this season, and goes 1 for 4 from the field. It just doesn't really add up for me.
Yeah, Donnie Freeman coming into today's game averaging 19 points per game, but obviously finished in single digits for just the first time this season. Now, Drew, you talked about it when you started with the Donnie Freeman. You said that Syracuse is going to need him with this upcoming schedule and this gauntlet, you can say. You've got North Carolina coming up on Monday. You've got Virginia ready to go as well. You've got Duke. You've got North Carolina again back at home. Do you think Syracuse is going back to maybe having Donnie Freeman come off the bench?
I mean, you're listening off like Eminem, you know, Syracuse got here. I think that Donnie Freeman needs to start, like I said, but I don't think it's really going to matter. This is a Syracuse team that has shown no life. Don't let them forget, 4-game losing streak going into this one. Sure, you beat a bottom cellar dweller Notre Dame. That does nothing for me. Flash back, by the way, Dan. That Houston loss, Iowa State, Tennessee, those feel like distant memories at this point.
No Donnie in those, though.
Sure. I don't even need to look at those 3. I think the next 3 are going to be really troubling. North Carolina's a really good team. And by the way, Duke, no chance.
Totally agree with you. This is a Notre Dame team. Let's remember here, that's ranked 80 in the net coming into this game.
Yeah.
This is not a good win for Syracuse. They finally just put some things together. I think you'll touch on this later on. If this is really to be remembered as a good win, they need to start building on this. And you really expected Syracuse to dominate this part of the schedule and now afford to have a couple of losses in the back half against these ranked teams. Not the case, really the other way around, Gino.
Well, someone that Syracuse is certainly going to need stepping up in just a matter of a day on Monday, North Carolina. That is the player of the game in this one, Nate Kings, who went off. 28 points, 5 for 10 from beyond the arc, as you can see there. Look at that. Awesome. Look at what we're doing here at Orange Press Pass. I mean, just so cool. And you see the plays like this here. Kick out into the corner. The ball movement, Adrian Autry talked about it after the game, was superb. That allowed Nate Kings to open up and stroke it from deep, something that everybody knows coming into this season, was shooting above 40% from deep coming into this year. And so we all know that Nate Kings, when he's at that level, he's at that level. And you can see the energy there. He's fired up. Someone that is really just showcasing what it is to be a Syracuse Orange during the losses and during the wins. Now, if it was a first half player of the game, it'd be J.J. Starling, 17.7% from the field. But Nate Kings is the complete player for Syracuse. All right, we'll take another break here on Orange Press Pass, but when we come back, the analysts have some film to break down, and I've got my game-changing moment of the game. You won't want to miss it. Stick with us here on Orange Press Pass.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker, new from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
Well, I hope you brought your notebooks and pens because, listen, anyone can look at a box score and say, oh, yeah, this guy had a good game, but it takes a certain individual to break down plays and see what went right and what went wrong, and I think my analysts can do a good job of that. So without further ado, it's the film room right now.
And you take a look at this replay angle right here. Gill's got a wide open lane to the end zone.
Gino, thanks for that lovely introduction.
High praise. Oh my goodness.
Dan Shalam, Drew Albaugh with you here in the film room. Going to break down a couple of plays that really allowed Syracuse to pull away in this game, and I'm going to go to the guy that replaced Donnie Freeman in this game. That is Sadiq White. And while he might have only ended up with 5 points on the evening, he had a couple of plays. Autry mentioned it. His energy is game-changing. So let's take a look at this play right here. 73-60 Syracuse, 5 minutes to go. You can see Sadiq White coming down the double team. He forces the steal, gets all the way down the court, and look at this layup. Oh, all the way around and in. It's good for 2, and that's what Sadiq White can do. He has the energy to create those turnovers, dominate the paint, and have finishes like that. And that was the point, really, where Syracuse took that 15-point lead, never looked back.
Yeah, you picked a flashy play, right? I mean, look at his hair. He's a flashy guy. I'm going to go a little bit more.
You're playing flashy yourself.
Oh, but you know, I got the haircut. I'm a little more cardboard, I guess you could say today. Look at my play. We're going to go with a defensive clip, where you might look at it, and you know, the basic guy might be, why are we even watching this thing, right? Notre Dame's kind of just swinging the ball around the arc. Look at Kings out here. I want to watch William Kyle this whole time. How he just latches onto his defenders. Usually teams have to switch over screens, and that's a liability, but not for William Kyle. I want to pause it right here. William Kyle is matched up on the smaller guard, and it still doesn't matter. We can roll it yet again. Despite William Kyle being the center for Syracuse, moves his feet, shuffle, it doesn't matter. William Kyle does so much for this team that I don't think anyone really realizes. You don't have to fight over screens when William Kyle is the guy that's going to switch on to your smaller defender. All right, we're going to go over to Gino for the moment of the game.
Oh, see, I love the energy over there, you two. I mean, you guys are bringing the passion. I mean, Dan was showing off his hops a little bit. Anyways, it's time for my game-changing moment of the game. Talked about player of the game and Nate Kings, who had 28 points, a season high for him. And without further ado, a three-pointer from him. That increased the lead for Syracuse to 9. They went on a 9-0 run after this play, but you can see Nate George and Adrian Autry talked about the facilitation in this game from his guards. Kings knocking down the three-pointer in a game that was back and forth for Notre Dame and Syracuse. It was a 6-point ball game about midway through that second half, too. This is what really iced the cake for the Orange, and they held on to a victory over the Fighting Irish. All right, one last break here on Orange Press Pass, but when we come back, the analysts, they're showing off a little bit more. They've got analyst sound off right here on Orange Press Pass. Hear what they have to say when we come back after this break.
Jason, let's go see your room.
No, that's not right. How is it? Is it good?
Closing up shop here on Orange Press Pass with my lovely analysts Drew Albaugh, Dan Shalam. I'm Gino Antimarino. Syracuse men's basketball taking down Notre Dame inside the JMA Wireless Dome, but the Orange still have tall task at hand coming up. Oh. Boy, you can see there, number 16 UNC, a quick turnaround, Dan, right on the road. You head to Chapel Hill, and then, oh yeah, by the way, afterwards, you got number 17 Virginia right next.
Yeah, I think it's more than a tall task, Gino. And what that full screen does not show you either is that Syracuse has 3 more ranked matchups after that. One against Duke on the road, and then you come home to North Carolina and at Louisville. Not to say that the Orange are out of it necessarily, because you have 5 quad 1 opportunities coming up on deck. But man, to leave yourself in that position where you really have to win 4 or 5 is rough.
You're looking ahead. I want to focus on Virginia. I think that game actually could be winnable. The last 4 for the Cavaliers is a close win to SMU, a loss to North Carolina, an overtime win against Notre Dame, a team you just beat, and then today beat BC by just 7. So I think that Virginia game could be a win for Syracuse. You want quad win opportunities at this point in the season, though, for Syracuse. So, hey, got to get it done.
The Orange trying to make a statement, to say the least, and they have plenty of opportunities to do so. But my analysts, they also have statements to make as well. So without further ado, it's Sound Off.
My sound off has to be that this win against Notre Dame does not change the outlook of the season here for Syracuse. We can't forget the fact that Notre Dame was 80 in the net ranking coming into this game. It doesn't change the fact that Syracuse was coming off a 4-game losing streak for the first time in the Adrian Autry era. It also doesn't take away the fact that Syracuse led at the half against Boston College, Virginia Tech, Miami. Went on to lose all of those games, all of those wins you should have had, because now you've put yourself in a desperate hole where you have 5 ranked opponents left to go with 9 matchups left to go on the calendar, and you practically have to win 4 of 5. And while that might sound like that's possible, take into account that 4 or 5 of those matchups are also on the road. Adrian Autry's squad should have taken care of business against this easy part of the schedule, and they've left themselves with a headache. Quite the uphill hill to climb here if they want to get to March Madness, which just seems like a distant goal at this point.
Well, Dan, I'll tell you how Syracuse does make March Madness. One of the best slogans of all time is Nike's "Just Do It." Well, to SU's credit, for at least today, they just did it. So here on a snowy night in late January, I want to offer a new slogan for the Orange. Do it again. And then once you do it again, feel free to do it again and again and again. One game isn't enough. For SU to turn the tide, the Orange quite literally needs to win out. Today was a start, but that's all it was. Consistency has come and gone faster than J.J. Starling's missing tooth at the end of today's game. Hope he's all right, by the way. Long story short, I will not mention SU and the word March in the same breath until the Orange do it again and again and again.
Well, I mean, missing tooth, I don't know if that's confirmed. It looked like on the instant replay that maybe he lost a tooth.
I think he did, Gino.
You think do you have experience losing teeth, Drew?
No.
I know you get down and
Chip
dirty in intramural basketball.
I do. I actually made someone bleed the other day.
Oh my gosh.
Because I banged heads with them, but did not lose their teeth.
Drew, aggressive on the court, always getting after it. And you know who else is always getting after it? This Orange Press Pass crew. They are back at it again tomorrow. But it's Syracuse men's lacrosse. They take on number 17 Boston University. You can see the stats from last season right there. Syracuse obviously looking off to start the season really well.
I'm really excited for this season. One last ride for Joey Spleedham, Michael Leo, and company. This is the year to do it, Drew. If you don't win it now, you're probably looking at a long while to have this talented of a roster to go out and win a national championship with.
And last season, goals per game, assists per game, all of the stats, Syracuse better than Boston University. The first ranked team Syracuse plays in game 1 since 2021.
All right, well, before we can worry about men's lacrosse, it's time to close shop here on Syracuse.
Do we have to?
Gino, I don't want to leave you.
I know, you guys have been great. You guys look great as well, but that's enough about
Only
you guys.
OPP crew to get a win in 2026.
That's true.
By the way.
That is a very true
Keep the
point.
chemistry
Syracuse
going.
men's basketball snapping a 4-game losing streak, and they did it all. They had the advantage in the assists, the rebounds, and obviously, most importantly, the points. That does it for us here inside our Orange Press Pass studios. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the broadcast after the men's lacrosse game.